Hi, my name is Aya. You're watching Aya Reads, and I'm here to read the top 10 diverse romances that were published in 2023. So, if you watched my Goodreads Choice Award video, you would have seen that I was pretty disappointed by the lack of diversity in that list. And in that video, I told you guys that I was gonna make a similar video to that Goodreads Choice Award of me reading romances that were published in 2023, but that were diverse. So I'm calling this a top 10. Obviously, that is not based on anything except for the fact that they're diverse and they were published in 2023, because I just picked 10 that were pretty popular last year that I actually heard about. So that is where that comes from. And I think at the end of the day, I'll be reading 11 because I also listened to Coming Home by Kennedy Ryan. I'm not including that in the actual 10 because it's a novella and it's only available on audiobook, but I did listen to it and I did vlog the experience, so I'll also have clips for that. But other than Coming Home, these are the other books I'm going to be reading for this vlog. Oh yeah, and by diverse, I am specifically talking about the authors who are diverse. So in this case, they're either persons of color or they're on the LGBT spectrum. So that is how I decided that they were going to be diverse. And I do have to say, in most of the case, like I think in pretty much all of them, the characters are also diverse, so that is good, obviously. But the books that are not included in here are books where the characters are diverse, but the authors are not. So just wanted to make that clear. In this vlog, I'm going to be reading Keep Her Safe by QB Tyler, An Island Princess Starts a Scandal by Adriana Herrera. This is the second book in her series, the Las Leonas series. Stars in Your Eyes by Kacen Callender, The Coldest Winter by Brittainy Cherry, We Could Be So Good by Sebastian, Only for the Weak by Natasha Bishop, The Rest of the Story by Bauer, The Neighbor Favor by Kristina Forrest, Sweet Vengeance by Viano, Oniomoh, and The Fiancée Farce by Alexandria Bellefleur. So since this is 10, technically 11 books, I'm not gonna take up too much of your time in this intro. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I would also really love to know what was your favorite diverse romance that came out in 2023. And I really hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know by leaving a like if you did. And if you could leave me a stack of books emoji, I'd really appreciate it. And let's cue to the vlog. I actually finished Coming Home and I listened to this. One of my reading goals this year is to listen to more audiobooks. And I figured I've been meaning to read a Kennedy Ryan for a while, and this is a great one because it's an Audible original, and I do know that the quality of those audiobooks are great. So I figured let's just start with this one, and since it is a diverse romance that came out in 2023, I would also talk about it in this vlog. Basically, you follow Torre and Naomi, and this is a second chance romance. These two almost had a thing in college, but then in their last year, he moved abroad for a year, and when he came back, he now had a girlfriend and she was pregnant, so nothing could really happen between them. He became a very successful and a famous journalist, and she became a very famous talk show host. So now one of their friends that used to be their friend in college asks him to do an interview, and Naomi will be the one interviewing him, and he never really does interviews. He's very reclusive. He doesn't really want to be in the spotlight. But once he finds out that Naomi's going to be the one doing the interview, he agrees because he has never really gotten over her, and she also hasn't gotten over him, by the way. So they do the interview and then they start talking to each other about their feelings back then and their feelings now, and it's their second chance romance. And I really enjoyed it. I loved seeing these two. So this takes place in a HBCU, so I loved seeing that aspect of it. That is something that I'm not familiar with. First of all, because I live in the Netherlands, and also I'm not Black. I believe it was Fiancée that for the first time made me aware that there was such a thing as an HBCU. So I did like that. I would have loved learning more about that, but that is for me to find out. And I love that these two successful people, you know, found love with each other. And they're older characters as well, and I really appreciated that. I do have to say, so I ended up giving it 4 stars, and it was a novella. I've heard amazing things about Kennedy Ryan, and I am sure that a book that I read by her that is full length and a book that I read with my eyeballs as opposed to my ears, I think I will definitely give 5 stars. I've been hearing nothing but good things about Kennedy Ryan for such a long time. So yes, I'm not really an audiobook girly. It's just I'm trying to get into them a little bit more. But I do have to say, while I was listening to it, I was thoroughly entertained. I thought the audiobook narrators did a great job. And yeah, and really no complaints. It's a 4 because it's a novella and it's an audiobook for me. But yeah, I enjoyed my time and I'm very much looking forward to reading more by Kennedy Ryan. And I would say if you really love audiobooks and you've not read this one yet, I would highly recommend it. And if you're trying to get into audiobooks, I think this is a great one to start with because it's also free with Audible Plus. It's just a very well produced audiobook in my opinion. All right, so I started and finished Sweet Vengeance by Viano Oniomoh, and I gave this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. This is about Joy, who needs to make a deal with a demon because she wants to kill the man who raped her. And the demon is called Malachi. It's a tiny novella. It's 180 pages and it's about them enacting this deal. She wants to basically slowly drive this man mad by sort of like haunting him, and then she wants to kill him, and she wants Malachi to make it seem like it was natural causes. And while they're doing that, they are falling in love. I do have to say, it did feel very fast to me, obviously because it's a novella. So that's why I gave it 4 stars. I did really enjoy the fact that Malachi was wonderfully submissive. And I liked how it was built up to that. It was built up to that because this is a virgin hero, and when they first got together, it's clear that he likes when she says good boy, but it doesn't really go farther than that. And then it eventually ends with her pegging him. So I liked that we slowly got to see him exploring his submissiveness. So I really liked that. I did enjoy Joy. And what I also really liked is that this actually takes place in Nigeria, which I didn't know when I first read this book. So that was great as well. I love that she was described as fat multiple times. I enjoy that. Like I said, the reason this is 4 is because it's only a novella. At the end of the day, I didn't really believe in their love story simply because it was so short. Also, and this is a very nitpicky thing, Joy kept constantly, especially in the beginning, kept constantly saying delicious. And that to me just felt like a gimmick, and it was kind of annoying. Even when it was explained where she got that catchphrase from, it to me did not really feel that authentic. But overall, I did enjoy it. I would recommend it. And if you want a good, short, paranormal monster romance, then I would definitely recommend this one. Also really love the fact that he had a tail, wings, and horn. So basically the trifecta, which was great as well. Now I'm reading The Fiancée by Alexandria Bellefleur, and I am on page 228 of 400. So I'm a little bit over halfway through, and this is it's leading up to a marriage of convenience, but right now it is fake fiancé. You follow Tansy and Gemma, and Tansy, her step-cousin is getting married to somebody that he did something in the past to Tansy that was horrible, and to get out of going to all these functions, she invents a fake girlfriend. Somebody even sees a picture of the fake girlfriend because the person that she is pretending to be her fake girlfriend is actually a romance cover model. On the wedding of her step-cousin and the guy that she hates, said cover model actually shows up, and it turns out this cover model is actually that guy's cousin. So Tansy's horrified. She thinks her secret's gonna blow up in her face on the worst day, on the wedding of this man that she hates. But Gemma actually goes along with it, and she actually needs a wife, or she needs to get married because her grandfather passed away, and unbeknownst to anybody and to the surprise of everybody, he left this giant company to her. But the stipulation in the will is, of course, that she needs to be married. So she thinks this is a golden opportunity. This is going to make a believable story. The fact that they've been dating for 6 months, because that is what Tansy has been telling all these people. They basically have a go at it, becoming fake fiancés. Right now, to be honest, this book feels too long because in the beginning, I was wondering, why is it called Fiancée Farce? I assumed, especially with the way Gemma wanted to proceed, that they were actually going to be married. And right now, about the halfway point, they are still fiancés. I just feel like this book is moving very, very slowly and therefore making it a little bit boring. I do definitely like both characters, and obviously I cannot say yet because I have not finished it, but I do have a feeling that by the end I'm gonna wish that this book was 100 pages less. Like I said, I like both characters. I like Tansy, who has, oh yeah, and that's another thing. So Tansy wants to save her father's bookstore because she works there, but her father, when he died, he left it all to her stepmom, and now her stepmom wants to sell it to like an Amazon-like company, and Tansy wants to keep it. So she needs money to buy the bookstore, and it's actually $6 million that she needs. So this is also a different social classes romance. And like I said, the interactions we do get, I do definitely enjoy them. And I know I was complaining about this book that it was a little bit too short. To me, it just feels like this book is meandering a little bit and it needs to be tightened up a little bit. But we actually just had a scene of them, you know, having their first actual date. And I did really enjoy that scene. But if I look at it, I have read over 200 pages and so far not much has happened beyond what I already told you. And that all took place in like the first 100 pages. So in the second 100 pages, not a lot has gone on to further the plot, is what I'm saying. But I am enjoying it, and I really love this cover. It is so gorgeous. I also really love this cover, by the way. They're very pretty. And yeah, if you hadn't guessed, this is a female-female relationship. Tansy is definitely bisexual. Gemma has not, it hasn't really been clarified, but I think she's bisexual as well. Those are my thoughts so far, and I guess I'll update you once I finish this one. So I finished the Fiancée Farce a couple days ago, and I'm gonna give you my final thoughts on it. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. I did enjoy a lot of things about this book, but there were some major things that kept it from being a favorite. I really liked both characters. I liked Gemma and I liked Tansy. I love the fact that Tansy worked at a bookstore. I'm always a sucker for books where characters really love reading or work at a bookstore. Like, I love that, obviously. I relate to that. I mean, I wish I had my own bookstore. That would be living the dream. In fact, I wish I could have seen more of that in this book. Her like day-to-day working at this bookstore, or them working together at this bookstore. And this is obviously fake dating, fake fiancés. I'm always a sucker for those kinds of tropes, the marriage of convenience, the fake dating, fake being fiancé. I love that. Like, I eat that shit up. There was also a secondary love story in this book with Gemma's mom and Gemma's uncle that I loved, and I wish we could have read more of that. Like, I would have read 100 pages of their love story. The things that made me not really love this is that this did feel way too long. I know I said I could have read 100 pages of the mom and the uncle, and if that 100 pages was in this 400-page book, this would have probably been a 5-star, but since that wasn't the case, especially like the middle part was way too long. It was boring. Nothing really was happening. And I do truly believe that if this book had been 100 pages shorter, I would have loved it way more. Also, Gemma had so many friends that either Alexandria should have had her have less friends and have them be more developed, or she should have developed all those friends, because I really couldn't keep track of them. I couldn't, like, they all were just like a blur. I couldn't tell you anything about any of those friends. They were not fleshed out well at all. And to be honest, and this is the major one in this book, I didn't really feel the chemistry between these two characters, and I couldn't really tell you why that was. The fact that I was way more invested in the love story between the mom and the uncle should tell you enough. Sometimes when a book is longer, I really feel like I know these characters more, and I start to believe their romance because it's more realistic. But in this book, that's just not the case, and I don't understand why, because I do like both characters separately, but together, I was fine. Like, I was enjoying reading about them while I was reading this book, but every time I put the book down, I wasn't thinking about their romance at all. I guess I would recommend this book if you're looking for a female-female relationship and you really love fake dating. But to be honest, that was me before reading this book, and I still gave it 3 stars. I don't know. I guess since it's a 3, I think some people will definitely enjoy this book. So I guess it's a toss-up whether or not you'll enjoy it. For me, unfortunately, that just wasn't the case. I mean, I did enjoy it. It's just not my favorite. A book that is becoming a favorite, though, is The Rest of the Story by Bauer. So I'm on page 203 of like 370. So I'm over halfway through, and I'm really, really, really loving this book. So this is a male-male hockey romance, and Tal Bauer is a man, and I believe he's gay as well. So it's own voices, and I am loving this book so much. And to be honest, comparing it to the Fiancée Farce, this also has moments of it being like a little bit day to day, a little bit like the character, like the couple doing mundane things. Yet in this book, I'm way more invested than in this book. So I guess that should tell you enough. This book, you follow Morgan, who has just been traded to the worst team in the NHL. And he's contemplating quitting, but he decides to just stick it out. He knows that it's probably only going to be for 1 year, because after 1 year, he's a free agent and can go wherever he wants. I mean, whatever team wants him. But when he gets there, he realizes, or one of the guys on the team that knew him from the past told him that they orchestrated him coming to the team to basically save them from an abusive captain. And this guy is a piece of shit. Morgan, basically, like on his first day or like his second day, he witnesses the abuse firsthand, and he basically beats the ever-loving shit out of this man and makes it so he will never come back to the team, and he ends up becoming captain. And he also meets a rookie, but he's like a different type of rookie. He actually finished his education at Harvard, mind you. So he's a rookie, but he's a little bit older than the usual rookie, who I guess usually they go into the NHL right after high school, so they're basically teenagers. It's his romance with this rookie named Shay, and it's basically them two building this team back up from the pit that they were in. And like I said, I am really, really loving it. When I started this book, I really thought that we were gonna spend a lot of time with this captain abusing this team. And thankfully, that is not the case. So if you were worried about this book, it's not the case at all. Like, it's in the first couple of chapters, but once Morgan really gets there, and like on his second day, you don't really see, like after that, you don't, well, at least in this part of the story, that guy's not the captain anymore, and you don't really see him. Maybe he'll come back in the third act, but I'm not sure, obviously. I'm really, really loving the romance between him and Shay. This is a single point of view, by the way. You only read from Morgan's perspective. And Morgan, because of his dad being very abusive, he just has never really believed in love, or at least he's never really opened himself up for love. He's always been the one to, like, only good for one night stands. And he thinks that he's no good. And I love how Shay really sees him for what he is and really sees his worth. I also really, really love the team dynamic in here. Like, this is really like an underdog story. Like I said, this team is the worst team in the NHL, and this story is also about him and the entire team turning things around and turning over a new leaf as a team. So I really love that. Like, this is really a found family story. It's like all these team members have really become a family, and I really love reading about that. This also actually has a virgin hero. Shay is a virgin, so that was really sweet to read as well. And I really love the difference between Morgan and Shay, Morgan being the one-night stand guy and Shay being the one that wants to actually kind of wait for marriage. So that is sweet. And yeah, I'm just really loving this book. I can definitely see why a lot of people love Tal Bauer. I think he's going to be my favorite author as well. I really love his writing style. Like, some of the sentences he writes, I'm just mesmerized by. I've been tabbing the hell out of this book, actually, and having a great old time. And yeah, I'm definitely going to be finishing this today because I cannot stop myself from reading it. I don't foresee this getting anything less than a 5, but I guess you'll have to wait to see what I actually rate this book. So I just finished the rest of the story by Tal Bauer, and this is my favorite book of the vlog so far. I absolutely loved it. Like, it was, as I say in my Goodreads review, heartbreakingly beautiful. I can definitely see myself thinking about these characters for a very long time. I just really loved Morgan. I thought he was such a good guy. Like, from the very beginning, the fact that he, like, aside from the fact that he just barreled in and took care of Coates, who was the previous captain, the fact that, like, everything he did went above and beyond. Like, he bought the rookies a house, and he did all that. Like, and that is just one of the things he did for the team, and he did all that without bragging about, without telling them. Like, he did all that in the shadows, so to speak. So I really, really loved him and all I wanted. And I was so happy that he found Shay, because he truly deserved all the happiness in the world. I also love the fact that this does not have a third act breakup, which is great because there's an external conflict. And I think that it makes sense for the story why there was no third act breakup, because their trials and tribulations happened for like a big portion of this book at the beginning. Like, I would say like the first 17 chapters is them, loving each other, really liking each other, and them not being able to be together because obviously Morgan is the team captain, and even though Shay is the alternate captain, it's still like a weird dynamic, especially because of the fact, like, because of what this team has went through, and the fact that Morgan doesn't like sees himself as only a one night stand kind of guy, and he wasn't like, he thought that he was only gonna stay a year. Obviously that turned out to be different. I do have to say the characters that were fleshed out really, like, I knew them vividly. There were some parts, especially at the end, where I was getting emotional because of how much I loved these characters and how much I loved this team and how much I was rooting for this team. But the flip side to that is there's a bunch of characters on the team that were not fleshed out, which makes sense because it's like a 20-person team. And this is a 370-page book, and it's a love story, so obviously that takes center stage. So it doesn't make sense that he would spend all this time, developing the rest of the team. I mean, if he did that, this would have been at least 200 pages longer, which I'm not saying I would have minded, honestly. Like, if that meant that I could know this team intimately, I would have loved that. But obviously that is not the route he took, which it makes sense. Like, his way makes way more sense than what I would want. So that is like my only thing. It's not necessarily a criticism. It's more like I'm sad that like we didn't get that. I love this underdog story. Like, I gotta say, like, so obviously this was like the loser of the NHL. They never won any games, and while they were winning games, I was cheering them on and rooting for them every step of the way. And I was so proud of everything that they have achieved in this book. I would highly, highly recommend it. If I didn't say so already, this is a 5-star book for me. I really, really fell in love with it. If you're looking for a good male-male romance that is own voices, I would highly, highly recommend this. Yeah, it was so good. And I don't know if I said this in my update, but I really love Tal's writing style. Like, in my Goodreads review, which I'll leave linked for you, I quote some of his lines in this book, and it's like, I sometimes found myself just like mesmerized by the words on the page. I think I said all there is to say. Like I said, it's my favorite. If you're looking for a good male-male hockey romance, I would highly, highly recommend this one. And let's actually do a tier ranking for the first 3 books I read. So this is the order for me. So in 3rd place is the Fiancée Farce. I gave this one 3 stars. 2nd place is Sweet Vengeance. I gave this one 4 stars, and the rest of the story I gave 5 stars. So this is the tier ranking. Let's see. The next book I'm planning on reading is The Neighbor Favor, which actually, let me go grab that one. It's funny because I've read 1 traditional published book so far and 2 indie published books so far. And I think, if I'm correct, it's going to be half and half. Half traditionally and half indie published. So far, the traditionally published book is the one I liked the least. I'm gonna pick up another traditionally published book now. Hopefully I like this more. And this is also a little bit longer, although not necessarily longer than the rest of the story. So this was 370 pages, and this was 400 pages. Yeah, and the Neighbor Favor has 385 pages. But I am excited. I've been meaning to read this one for a while now, and I was 100% convinced that this was gonna make it at least in the top 20 for the Goodreads Choice Award, and it never showed up, which really did surprise me. But I'm glad that I can read it now. And like always, I'm gonna update you either at the 100-page mark or once I'm halfway through. Oh, the first part. Okay, so this is split up in a couple different parts. There's a part that's called emails. So it's their emails back and forth. So the first 60 pages is just emails, which I should fly through those. So I guess I'll just update you once I'm halfway through, because otherwise it's just like 40 pages of not emails, which obviously I cannot really give you a whole synopsis for it then. But yeah, Very excited. So I started and finished The Neighbor Favor by Kristina Forrest. I didn't update you halfway through like I normally would. I don't know why. So let's get started with the synopsis. So you follow Lily and Nick. And Lily has this favorite book that not a lot of people have heard of because this is a very obscure author. He doesn't even have an author picture in his book. This book was published by a very small publishing company that went out of print as well. So only a couple hundred books have been published of this book, and she has one of them. And one day she sees that this author has a new author page and that there's a contact form. So she contacts him, telling him that how much she loves his book, and that starts a correspondence between them. Nick, who's the author, actually didn't have a lot of success with his first book, so he's now a journalist of this like traveling magazine, so he's constantly moving around. So the first part of this book is actually them, like their emails back and forth, which I really loved reading that. The emails end with him telling her that she doesn't know who he is. Like she doesn't know him or something like that. Like what does he actually say? I'm not who you think I am. So she obviously thinks that he's catfished her and then he ghosted her and stuff like that. 5 months later, he now lives in New York where she lives, and his book has actually been picked up again by a different publisher, a very big one. They are really pushing his book. They think it's going to be the next best thing. His book has already been picked up by HBO to become a TV show. And he's also coincidentally her neighbor. They don't know that at the beginning who they actually are. He realizes way before her who she actually is. He's trying to keep his distance because he thinks that he's not a good guy because his dad was not a good guy. He thinks that she should stay away from him, that he's nothing but trouble, that he'll turn into his dad. Meanwhile, she wants to have a date to her sister's wedding, and she's not really at her place at her job. She has a horrible boss, and she's a book editor. And her dream is to become an editor for children's books, but right now she's an editor for nonfiction, which she doesn't like that. Plus her boss is awful. But since they're neighbors, they slowly become friends. She asks him to help her find a date to this wedding, but they're slowly falling in love. But obviously there's this big secret hanging over their heads. And I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars. I love that both characters had their own issues going on. Like I said, him with his daddy issues, and her with her career, and also feeling like everybody else is trying to decide what is good for her in her life and kind of micromanaging her, even though she wants to be in charge of her own life. I always love reading books where the characters have something to do with book publishing. So in this case, obviously, there's an author and a editor. Some things that did bother me that prevented me from giving this 5 stars was that Nick constantly kept saying that he was not good enough when everything in his life proved that he was nothing like his dad, because he kept constantly referring it to romantic relationships that his dad treated his mom awfully, so he's probably going to treat his own girlfriend awfully, when his dad was also a very, very bad friend. Like, he proved that over and over again. In fact, he proved to be like a worse friend than, like, maybe even a worse friend, as like if you compare it to how he was as a husband. When Nick proved over and over again that he was a really good friend, that he has a very long-standing friendship. So I just like at one point it just got too much because it made his character very flaky and very hot and cold. And I can handle that to a certain extent. I feel like it went on too long, the fact that he thought that he was not good enough. And this is just a pet peeve of mine. And I don't know why I have this, but I have given other books less stars because of it. And it's when real life books get mentioned alongside fake books and also alongside fake celebrities. Like, pick one. Either have it all be real or have it all be fake. But like this combination of the two, I don't like it. I don't like it. It takes me out of the story. It also dates the book because some books they mention are like more classic, but then other ones are very much now and in the moment. So I don't know, maybe in 10 years it will definitely feel dated, whereas it doesn't necessarily need to be. But other than those two things, I did thoroughly enjoy myself. I also really enjoyed her sisters in this book, and I know the book that just came out in February, The Partner Plot, does follow Violet. I'm very excited to read that book as well. And yeah, like I said, I really loved their emails back and forth. Like I could definitely see why they fell in love with each other. And I also really love the side characters, not just the sisters, but the other neighbors in this book. It was very good. I would highly recommend it. I always love like neighbor stories, and obviously him trying to help her with her dating problems. And I also like the fact that there was this secret identity, even though obviously it's part of the conflict in this book. And also, I love how that was revealed. Like, it was 100% believable that he would find out first before she did. And then once she finds out, the way she retroactively realizes that she should have seen it before, even though it was very difficult to connect the dots. But yeah, I really loved it. I would highly recommend it. 4 stars. And yeah. Okay, so I read and finished Keep Her Safe by QB Tyler. And it was not my favorite. I gave it 3 stars. And I think I enjoyed it more than the Fiancée Farce. But the other books I enjoyed more than Keep Her Safe. Okay, let me just give you the synopsis first. So this is a actress bodyguard romance, and you follow Shay, who's the actress, and Damien, who's the bodyguard. And he's been her bodyguard for 5 years. When he first started becoming her bodyguard, she was 18, he was 30. She had a major crush on him and he turned her down. And he was planning on quitting, but then both her parents died and he felt like he could leave her too because she really clung on to him and he was one of the few people that she trusted. And now it's 5 years later. She recently broke up with her boyfriend of 3 years because he cheated on her. And now feelings are bubbling over and they finally explore what is there between them because they have both been basically pining for the other one. But like, it's a secret relationship. They have to keep it under wraps. Also because her PR team doesn't want her to break up with him publicly, not for a couple of months at least, because she needs him for publicity, stuff like that. The first half of this book, I really enjoyed. Like, I really thought this was going to be either a 4 or 5 stars. Like, the first half was definitely at least a 4. The second half, it just went downhill for me. And the second half was a 2 star. So combined, it made it a 3. This bums me out because I really love the bodyguard trope. It's one of my favorite tropes. I eat that shit up. It's like my catnip. I cannot get enough. So nobody's sadder than me that I only gave this 3 stars. And this is my first QB Tyler. And I've just been hearing so many good things about her. And it just makes me sad that this is my first QB Tyler because it will not be my last. And I do think that I'm going to love her other books. This one just wasn't my favorite. The thing is that tanked this book for me at the very end is they got together way too soon. Like, it was at like the 30% mark, I'm pretty sure, where they got together. It was clear that they both had feelings for each other. And it was like, they were a solid couple very early on in this book, which like removed any angst, removed any other things. And where the conflict and angst was coming from was an external source. So she had a stalker, and that plot line was just annoying to me. Like, first of all, it was so obvious to me who the stalker was. When that character showed up, I just knew right away who the stalker was. And the stalker story, it turned into a cartoon villain. I was like, I could not really suspend my disbelief. Even though, obviously, you're supposed to suspend your disbelief with the whole... And I could for all the other things, but not the stalker plot line. So yeah, that combination of the stalker plot line becoming the more prominent plot line in the second half of the book, plus me feeling like, okay, what are we doing with this relationship? At one point, I was just like not skimming sex scenes, but I just was not, like, after like the 10th sex scene, I was like, okay, we get it. Okay, move on. Even though you guys know I love reading smut. I always love reading sex scenes. And I did think that QB Tyler wrote great sex scenes, but like after the 7th one, I was like, okay, move on. Thank you. I'm sad that this was not my favorite. And in hindsight, I probably should have picked her other 2023 release because that one got more raving reviews, which was The Worst Kept Secret. And if I look at, so that one got more ratings and has a higher average rating, but not by much. But yeah, I should have just read The Worst Kept Secret, but I just wanted to stick with reading mostly standalones. Plus, I was really intrigued. Like, out of both of them, the synopsis that intrigued me most and the tropes was the bodyguard romance and not the, what's it? This is like dad's best friend or something. Best friend's dad, yeah. I mean, I don't mind those stories, but like, if you ask me which trope do you prefer, it's definitely the bodyguard one. So yeah, it does make me sad that this is one of my least favorites I read for this vlog, but I mean, what can you do? They can't all be winners, unfortunately. I would say if you really love the bodyguard trope, maybe read this, but I love it and I love that trope and I didn't love this one. Like, I 100% preferred Twisted Games, for example. So do with that information what you will. The next book I'm planning on reading is gonna be, let me see, The Coldest Winter, which I'm very excited about. So hopefully I'll have better luck with that one. So I just finished The Coldest Winter by Brittainy Cherry, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I could not stop reading it. This follows Starlet and Milo, and they meet at this. Okay, so she, on her birthday, finds her boyfriend cheating on her. So she goes to this frat party, and she's a very good girl. The only thing she does is study and never does like fun things or like things that are wrong. So there at the party, she meets Milo. Well, she doesn't know his name, but they have a one-night stand. And then she's actually studying to be a teacher. So she becomes a student teacher at this high school, and who should be one of her students but Milo. So he's a little bit older, he's 19 and she's 21, so the age gap is not that significant, but obviously it is when she's the student teacher and he's the student. Also, his mom died a year ago, and because of that he's depressed, so, and he doesn't really care about school at all, and his headmaster, who's also his uncle, has arranged for Star to tutor him. So this is forced proximity, forbidden romance. She at first tries to keep him very much at bay, and he's at the beginning not really looking for a relationship, but she lost her mother when she was 13, so they do definitely bond over that, and she just knows what kind of questions to ask him, how to be there for him, and he slowly opens up a little bit more. He makes her care about the rules a little bit less, even though in this case, obviously, technically, she should care a little bit more. There's also just another heartbreaking thing. If that was not already enough, Milo has, like, his father is also pretty depressed, and he's become an alcoholic. And so he's at home, doesn't really have a support system. His dad is being really mean to him and is not really there for him. And then there's a visual impairment rep in here as well. Eventually, like, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but I don't think that that's a spoiler. He has this disease where he's slowly becoming blind. So Milo is just like at this point in his life, a lot of bad things keep happening, and it keeps piling on, and Starlet is like the one ray of sunshine in his life. That is the first ray of sunshine. Like, because of her, like, because of that, he starts seeing more, that there's more to life than just bleak and coldness and just like a cold winter. I really love this book. This is my first Brittainy Cherry. It will 100% not be my last. I have a lot of her books that have been highly recommended that I definitely are getting pushed way up on my TBR because I fell in love with this book. I really loved both characters, especially Milo. I loved him from the very first moment we met him. I loved how he was a little bit of a dick in the beginning. Like, he literally told her to call him Dick. But, like, he was just a soft boy on the inside. Just like a soft boy who was hurting a lot. I loved how much he loved his mom and also how much he loved his dad. I really loved Starlet and her relationship with her father. I really loved the writing. I thought the writing was gorgeous. You guys know not a lot of books make me cry, but I was reading this on the train and I was finding myself like getting misty-eyed a little bit because I just felt so sorry for Milo, especially. I just wanted to hug him and never let him go. I also loved the side characters a lot. I loved his uncle, I loved her father, I loved her friend as well. Yeah, this was a very good book. It is obviously a little bit taboo, a little bit forbidden, but it's not too overboard if you're uncomfortable with that. I really loved it. I would highly recommend it. In fact, it is my favorite I read for this vlog so far. Yeah, definitely. Let me actually give you my ranking for now. So this is the ranking, and obviously I'm missing Keep Her Safe. I'm still debating whether or not I liked Fiancée, Farce. I think in sixth place is the Fiancée Farce, which I gave 3 stars. 5th place goes to Keep Her Safe, which I also gave 3 stars. Sweet Vengeance is in 4th place, which I gave 4 stars. The Neighbor Favor is in 3rd place, which I gave 4 stars. The Rest of the Story by Bauer is in 2nd place, which I gave 5 stars. And The Coldest Winter by Brittainy Cherry is my favorite so far, and I gave it 5 stars as well. I'm still mesmerized by that book. It was so good. My next book will be... So these 4 are still left on my TBR. I have a pretty busy weekend. One of my best friends is coming to stay with me for at least 2 days, maybe 3. And tomorrow, okay, so tomorrow I have the day off, but I do have to clean a lot because my house is a little bit of a mess. So especially my living room, like I need to do like a lot of cleaning before she comes. So that's Thursday. Friday I still have to work, and I'm pretty sure we're doing stuff in the evenings. And then on Saturday I have a birthday party for another friend. So like I said, pretty busy. So the plan is to read only for the week, because this is the shortest book on my TBR that's left. It's a novella. It is like a little bit over 200 pages. So hopefully I can actually finish this before my friend comes, so that at least I'll get another book in. And I'm very, very excited about this one. I read and finished Only for the Week by Natasha Bishop. So let me tell you my thoughts. So basically this is a ex-fiance's best friend romance. So you follow Janelle and Rome. And Janelle used to date this guy, but then he left her for her sister. And now everybody, but especially her mom, is just worried about her going to this wedding. So they are invited to this destination wedding. And her mom constantly is up her case, thinking that she's still pining for the ex, just constantly almost gaslighting her into feeling bad about the situation. So they go to this wedding, and there she meets Rome, who she knew was her ex's friend, but every time she was there, he conveniently wasn't there. And in this book, we realize why. He was crushing on his best friend's girlfriend, so he stayed away to not make it awkward for himself. But now they're at this wedding, and now Rome can finally shoot his shot, so he does. And it's a 2-week thing, and in the first week it's only like the bridal party that's there, and then the second week everybody else gets there. So since it's a smaller crowd, they decide that they're going to be together only for the week. So they have amazing chemistry together, and they, are really into each other. But there's a lot of drama because the sister is constantly being pretty mean to the heroine. It's obvious that she's kind of jealous, or there's something going on there between the sisters. Yeah, Rome is very swoony. He's such a great guy. I really liked him. I loved the things that he did for her. And this was a very short novella, but like it's a novella that you'll fly through. Like, let me see. Yeah, it's just over 200 pages. You can read this in one sitting if you want to. I ended up giving this 4 stars, and it was mainly because of all the sister drama and like the ex-boyfriend drama. The thing is, this is only a novella. Like that whole drama took away a lot from the romance, in my opinion. Like it's constantly her thinking about her mom and about her sister, which I get, but then this should have been a little bit longer, because I felt myself not really enjoying their romance, because I was constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop, because she was constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop. And it wasn't just about them being afraid that their relationship was going to get discovered, which would be fine. That is part of the romance. But her constantly walking on eggshells around her sister and constantly being afraid of what her sister's going to do next. And the whole plot line about her and her sister and about her and the ex and the sister, it just got annoying very fast, which is why I gave it 4 stars. But other than that, I did enjoy the writing style. Other couples are set up. So right now, this is not listed as a series on Goodreads, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be, because all the friends are already kind of paired up in ways. So if she releases more books in the series, I will definitely read it. And hopefully things that bothered me in this book will not bother me in those books. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I would highly recommend it. And if you don't mind everything I said, I would say pick it up. And even I still gave it 4 stars, which means I really enjoyed it still, even though that drama was kind of bothering me. I'm currently reading We Could Be So Good by Sebastian, and I gotta say, I'm kind of struggling. I'm on page 112. And the thing is, it's not only because of this book, it's also because I'm now currently residing in a Taylor Swift hole. Her Eras Tour movie obviously came out on Disney Plus, which I watched that movie already in the movie at the movies. I have been a fan of hers for so long. So it comes in waves when I am like my peak Taylor Swift, my Swiftie comes out. And I knew that once that movie was gonna come out like on one of the streaming platforms, I was gonna subscribe to that streaming platform. I'm probably gonna watch that movie over and over and over again, which is what I did. I've watched it like 4 or 5 times already. And what's more is, one thing I love is watching grown men react to Taylor Swift's music and music videos. I don't know why, it's just something that I love. I've also am watching this YouTuber who's a writing coach or writing teacher dissect her lyrics, because I've always said that Taylor Swift, if she wrote a book, it would probably be one of my favorite books, because she is so good at writing. That's pretty much all I've been doing. Watching reaction videos, watching that writing lady dissect her lyrics, and watching the Eras Tour movie over and over and over again. And that is the whole, like, I currently am doing nothing but that. And I actually try to use this book or use those videos to get me to read this book by saying, since this book is it's split up in like little sections, so you don't have to read an entire chapter to get to the end of a section. So it will have like this thing here, and that happens a lot in this book. So I told myself, okay, you can watch one video, but then afterwards you need to read a section of this book, and then you can watch another video again. Unfortunately, I've not been doing that, mainly because this book is very, very character focused and not really plot heavy. And usually I don't mind that, but if I'm already slumping or already something else is drawing my attention, then a book like this, it's very easy for me to put down and very easy for me to not pick it up again. So that is basically where the problem lies here. I do have to say, while I'm reading it, I am enjoying it. So you follow Nick and Andy, and this takes place in the 1950s, and obviously in the 1950s, it's illegal to be gay. There are gay bars or queer bars, but there's also cops in plain clothes trying to arrest queer people. Nick and Andy, they work at this newspaper, and Andy is the son of the owner of the publishing company. It's different social classes because Andy's very rich, Nick is not, but they can become best friends. Nick is gay, and Andy he's obviously bi, but he's kind of suppressed his side that is interested in men as well, because it's so difficult, and he feels like, okay, so I also like women, so then it's fine. But since they're best friends, they get closer, obviously. Andy had this fiancée who also worked at this paper. She broke up with him, and because of that, he didn't want to live alone, so Nick offers for him to move in. So this is a roommates to lovers trope, which is something I really love. I'm pretty sure the chapter where I'm at now, Andy's gonna offer him something sexual. So it's obvious now that Andy's, like, there's been hints and moments between them. I gotta say, right now I am really into it, so hopefully I can read more of this. Like I said, this is not a bad book, and I'm pretty sure if I read this another time, I would have enjoyed it. I would have flown through it, especially because of those short chapter breaks, because usually that just makes me fly through a book, because either short chapters or chapters that are cut up, is because it's very easy for me to say, okay, just until another chapter break, because it's only like a page and a half. Like, I can manage that as opposed to reading a 30-page chapter. Usually it's easier for me to put those books down, as opposed to these ones where it's very easy for me to continue on because the next part is only like a page and a half. Even though I'm still in my Taylor Swift hole, I'm gonna make a concerted effort to really read as much as I can. Yeah, hopefully my next update will be tomorrow, telling you that I finished it. And like I said, don't let this discourage you, because it is, like, I am enjoying it, and I am really liking Nick and especially Andy, but I don't know what happened. I mean, I do know. I just very excited about Taylor Swift. Also, I'm going to her concert in August in London, which I'm very, very excited about. And in April, actually, I'm also going to London, visiting my friend who's also a very big Swiftie. So I think that is just not helping with my obsession right now. I just love her. I do. I know I don't talk about it a lot here on my channel, but she is my favorite artist. I love her music so much. But yes, I guess the next time you'll see me, I will have finished it. Like, this is one of my favorite covers ever. And look how beautiful. So pretty. Anyway, this, if you hadn't noticed, this does take place in New York. Okay, so I'm here to review the last 3 books I read and finish this vlog. So I finished We Could Be So Good. I'm pretty sure I finished it like the day after I gave you my final update. And the second half for me was easier to get into, even though it still didn't really have a plot. By that time, I was very invested in their love story and wanted to know, you know, how it was gonna end. So I read the second half faster than the first. I did enjoy it. I ended up giving it 4 stars, and the reason it was 4 and not 5 is mainly because it was so slow and because not a lot was happening. But while I was reading it, I was pretty intrigued. I loved the 50s setting. I loved this friends to lovers romance, and actually really loved the fact that we actually got to see them be friends as well. So we actually got to see them meet for the first time, become very good friends, and then ultimately become more than that. I did enjoy watching them at work as well. Like, I loved seeing Nick be a reporter. That reminded me very much of Divine Rivals, because obviously that book also has reporting in it. So I did enjoy that fact. But as I said in my first update, the fact that this was lacking in plot made me put this book down very easily, and then made it pretty difficult for me to pick it back up, especially in the first half. But ultimately, I did enjoy that romance, and I would recommend it. Like I said, I gave it 4 stars, and definitely pick this up if you are interested in it. Then, actually, I picked up An Island Princess Starts a Scandal by Adriana Herrera, and I DNF'd this at 75 pages in. I really couldn't get into this book. The writing style was very difficult for me to get into. She kept constantly using very big, difficult words that I actually had to look up, which I know English is technically not my first language, but I've read enough books for me not to do that. Usually if a book has like difficult words, I usually only look up one word, but this time I constantly was looking up words, and it's not my first historical romance, and it's definitely not my first book that has like pretty big words, which, I mean, kudos to Adriana for having like the vocabulary that I do not, but I don't know, it was also like the writing style, I just couldn't get into it. The romance was introduced, and I also was not really feeling it. I mean, I know we were only 75 pages in, but usually, especially with historical romances, and especially like this one where it's like a forbidden one, I would have been into the romance even at 75 pages through. So I just cut my losses, and I knew that this was probably not going to be for me. I also looked up reviews, and the ones that gave it like 1, 2, or 3 stars, their issues with it were my issues. So I figured this was probably not going to get more than 3 stars for me, so in that case, let's just cut my losses. This does make me sad though, because these 2 are my least favorite, and they are the only ones that are a female-female romance. So I'm using this opportunity to ask for some good female-female romances recommendations from you guys. This one I didn't hate at all, and this one I haven't read enough of it to hate it, but I would really love to really love a female-female romance. So if you have any recommendations for me, definitely let me know, because I would be interested. I did end this vlog with a win though, and it was Stars in Your Eyes by Kacen Callender. I really, really love this book. I gave it 5 stars, and I would highly, highly recommend it. So this is a male-male romance between 2 actors. One is the Hollywood bad boy named Logan Gray. He's constantly getting himself into trouble, and he's just a kind of a douchebag. And Matthew Cole, who is Hollywood's golden boy, up and coming new actor. They're working together for a movie, a male-male romance movie. But before filming actually started, Logan said in an interview that he thought Maddie was a terrible actor and stuff like that. So now the people working on the film want to have them fake date so that the film will get more buzz, and to make sure that people don't actually believe that they hate each other. So they do. So this is a fake dating romance. Logan, he just broke my heart, because this does deal with childhood sexual assault, which, I mean, Kacen says so at the very start of the book. I would definitely read that before you start. That all happened to Logan. That just broke my heart. He suffers with depression, he has PTSD and also anxiety, and he like throughout the majority of this book, he's coping with it in very destructive ways. So that definitely take caution with that, because that makes this book very, very heavy. But while they're fake dating, they eventually fall in love, and that was so beautiful to read. I did really love that. I loved watching them work as well, just like with We Could Be So Good. I loved watching them film scenes and watching them rehearse those scenes. And I also really loved the fact that neither of them were perfect, and especially Logan, he kept messing up, and that is pretty realistic considering everything he's gone through in his life, and also considering the fact that he never addressed those issues. And even though like the ending or like the culmination of everything is usually not something I love in my romances, it did make sense for the story, and I honestly don't think that it could have been handled any other way for it to be believable. So I did appreciate that. Like I said, I gave it 5 stars, but it is very, very heavy. Oh, and also both these actors are half black, or I think Logan is half black, Maddie is black, but his skin tone is lighter, so that is why he's like the Hollywood golden boy, and those are discussions that they have in this book, so that is very interesting as well. And like I said, even though Logan does mess up a few times and it is a pretty messy romance, the soft, quiet moments that they have, I did really love, and I did love watching them fall in love. I love both characters. I love how they both struggled with their own problems and their own pasts, and I love the fact that they had to deal with that before, you know, they could actually be together. Yeah, and actually this, obviously I read another book where there was an actor in the mix, which was Keep Her Safe. And I do have to say that I think this one did it better, because with Keep Her Safe, yes, they address similar issues as in like the fame and stuff like that, but with this book, you really got to see them actually act and stuff like that, and I enjoyed that immensely. So I'm just gonna stop now because I have taken up enough of your time. Let's do the final ranking for this video. Obviously, I'm missing Keep Her Safe because that one I read on ebook, but this is the final ranking. In last place, so 10th place is An Island Princess Starts a Scandal. I DNF'd this one, but since obviously I DNF'd it, it's my least favorite I read for this vlog. Number 9 is The Fiancée Farce, which I gave 3 stars. Number 8 is Keep Her Safe by QB Tyler, which I also gave 3 stars. Number 7 is Sweet Vengeance, which I gave 4 stars. Only for the Week is number 6, which I also gave 4 stars. The Neighbor Favor is number 5, which I also gave 4 stars. We Could Be So Good by Sebastian is a number 4, which I gave 4 stars. Number 3 is Stars in Your Eyes by Kacen Callender, which I gave 5 stars. Second place goes to The Rest of the Story by Bauer, which I also gave 5 stars. And first place, my favorite book I read for this vlog, was The Coldest Winter by Brittainy, which of course I also gave 5 stars. So I do have to say, this was pretty good. So I DNF'd one, which, I mean, it's not weird if I read 10 books that one of them is going to be a DNF. Then I had 2 books that I gave 3 stars, and the rest, so 7 out of 10, I gave a 4 or a 5 stars, which is pretty good in my opinion. A 4 and a 5 means I really did enjoy the books. And 3 of them were 5 stars, and I would highly recommend all of these. Like, pick any of them up. I think you're gonna have a great time with any of them. And yeah, I used up a bunch of my tabs on these books as well, as you can see. So that is great as well. I'm very glad I did this vlog. Hopefully next year I will have this up much earlier than this one. Like I said in the beginning, I either want to read these books already in 2024, or I want to read them in January or February of 2025. And please let me know some of your favorite diverse reads, and especially if it's a female-female romance, leave all those in the comments below. And I really hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know by leaving a like if you did, and thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.